I really don't know where to begin from, but Tika Bhai contacted me 2 days back and said, "Hey brother," of course from another mother, "I've written 3 books, I'm sending you one of the books." So I read his book 2 days after returning from work over a cup of tea, From Peace to Pain to Promise. Let me briefly tell you about Tika. I've seen him grow in the squalor of refugee camps in Goldhap, where I come from as well. My cousin and Tika, they studied together. I was a student outside, I was learning. I had founded my own school in far west Nepal, where education to girls was very alien. And I got the highest civilian award by the state head as someone who had pioneered English education in that area. Be that as it may, I was still a refugee. And one of the things that Tika Bhai mentioned in his book is we were homeless. With humility, I would like to say, I feel like calling home free, because there is nobody homeless in this world. I think we are home free. But the journey that Tika Bhai wrote about himself and his family is a microcosm of the journey that every refugee and every displaced person in the world today faces. Let me take you back to a very dismal picture of the refugee situation today in our world. As we speak, 120 million people are displaced today. If this were a country, it would be the 13th largest country in the world, a little bigger than Egypt, much bigger than France, Germany, Italy, the UK. And to put in American perspective, it would be 1 in every 3 Americans are displaced today. About 45 million of those people are refugees. And over 50% of those 45 million are children under 18. So you can imagine the massive demographic footprint that we are seeing in our world. So as we speak here today, by the time we complete our 2 hours program here, about 30,000 people will already have been displaced from their homes for no fault of their own. This is serious. And especially when our administration, when our country is filled with bigotry, division, and hate, it is really difficult for me to fathom, to decipher whether that promise, which we once celebrated, the city on that shining hill, or the shining city on that hill, whether it is really shaken, or whether we should really fight for that promise to maintain, retain, and preserve that promise. I really believe that the golden words enshrined in the Great Seal, E pluribus unum, out of many one, still exists for all of us. So to my younger generation, as you read this beautiful book, From Peace to Pain to Promise, please understand the promise that Tika talks about in his book is not granted, is not a given. I think we'll have to fight for it, because I feel that that promise is really being taken away. We are Americans, and we've got to really set afoot our right to preserve that, fight for it. When a very popular poet, John Donne, talks about for whom the bell tolls, it tolls for thee. I think it tolls for every one of us. When I see my own community members being deported to a country they've never been to, they've never seen, it really breaks our heart, because no man is an island entire of itself. Every man's death diminishes me because I'm involved in humankind. I really believe that. We come from a culture, from a country where the world is a family. We say, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the world is a family. But have you ever imagined, I often think, we talk about iPhone, iPad, there's I. Why wasn't that name given WePhone or WePad? So the idea of being individualistic is not in our culture. What Tika mentions, I think the message is we grow as a community, as a family, as a nation, where please do not walk ahead of me, I may not follow you. Please do not walk ahead of me, I may not follow you. Please do not walk behind me, I may not lead you. But please walk along with me, I'll certainly accompany you. So I think we have to hold our hands and sing together. With your hand in my hand, I can survive any land. That, I think, should be the message to our community through this book, From Peace to Pain to Pleasure. He beautifully talked about peace, how life was so peaceful in Bhutan. Trust you me, I was thrown back to a flood of remembrance of my childhood days. When I read the book, I was in tears. Nostalgia, the petrichor, the smell of the Veronica, everything was so real, so vivid. And the pain, I often say this to younger generation, particularly to my students in university, that success comes before work only in a dictionary. In real life, it is the other way around. That is why our scripture, the Bhagavad Gita, says, Karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. You do not need to worry about your results. Just focus on your work. I think that is the essence of this book. I also saw another essence, another message in this book, that what Madiba Nelson Mandela once talked in his book, Long Walk to Freedom, where he says, life's greatest glory lies not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. I think he has talked about the journey of falling and then rising again. But let me remind once again, this promise is, I guess, being taken away unless we are really united. I just scribbled some of the notes when I was reading the book. Let me just quickly check what I wrote. I don't want to take a lot of time. Today, the Beatitudes of belonging have become the battle of belonging. We've got to fight for it. We've got to take it back. And I think the testament, the fact that one of our own community members is an official representative, is also a fact that we can really work united and we can become successful. Having said that, this is a beautiful book. I would encourage every younger generation, every child to read. It talks about the life that we once lived. Bhutan, I guess, the king who perpetrated an ethnic cleansing of 1/6 of the entire population of the country, today lives in his fortified palace, smug as a bug on a rug, surrounded by his 4 wives. I think this book is a befitting rebuke to that person who thought by removing us, by creating the exodus from his country, he has diminished us. But no, like Tika's book, like Tika, there are so many others who are rising. So let's rise, let's make this country great. Really, if I have to conclude, the best thing that I found about the book is his message that he gave to the younger generation. This is not a time to bask on the glory of our parents, the hard work of our parents. I think we have to really, really work hard and attain success. I thank you very much for your attention, and I conclude with the beautiful words of Robert Frost when he said, miles to go before I sleep and miles to go before I sleep. Before we actually sleep, there is so much work to do and contribute to this great nation that we now call home. Thank you.